OpenAI recently removed the word safely from their mission statement. But this is evidence of a greater trend that's happening in the AI developer space, which is all gas, no brakes. And we've talked about this before. There's so much pressure to keep up that can actually lead you to making some foolish decisions. I kind of highlighted this a few weeks ago when we were talking about Claudebot and this AI agent that just has access to all your personal secure information. And don't get me wrong, I think if you're a developer, if you're really in tune, using an AI tool like this is going to skyrocket your productivity. We're seeing some really amazing stuff being built with AI agents. But for the common guy, like you, like me, there's a lot of fear here because if we don't keep up, we're going to be left behind. And these AI developers are not going to slow down. There's just too much money at stake. And we'll get to that in a moment. But what I want to do here is just quickly juxtapose and contrast OpenAI's previous mission statement with their new mission statement. So the previous mission statement is, quote, to build general purpose artificial intelligence that safely benefits humanity, unconstrained by need to generate financial return. Their new mission statement is OpenAI's mission is to ensure that artificial general intelligence benefits all of humanity. So they removed the word safely, and they also removed a pretty important part there about generating a financial return, and we'll be talking about this in future videos. OpenAI's move now is certainly for profit, and we've covered that in the past. If you're a subscriber, you would know that Elon and OpenAI have had some drama in the past, but we're not gonna get into this video. The reality is that moving forward, LLMs like ChatGPT, when you use them for search, are going to be showing you ads. So OpenAI had to shift that. But again, we're moving away from this need to safely develop AI because we're just kind of building and hoping nothing bad happens on the back end. And you know, in and of itself, just the mission statement change, this might seem insignificant. But last year, OpenAI actually dissolved several teams. They dissolved their SOUP alignment team, their AGI readiness team, and then just this past month, they dissolved their mission alignment team, which the goal with that team is to promote safe, trustworthy AI aligned with human values. And sure, one of the problems you get with organizations as they get bigger and is there's too many people saying, slow down, pump the brakes, we can't do that, we can't do this, we need more checks, more balances, more regulation on what we're doing. And the reality is that too much of that in an organization can shut it down to a whole. If you have too much bureaucracy in an organization, it's the beginning of the death knell of the company. On the flip side, if it's too much innovation and not enough standard operating procedures and not enough regulation, well, then you can end up, who knows, creating a bioweapon that wipes out 90% of humanity, which we clearly don't want. The reality is we're playing with something that we don't really know enough about. And just as a quick side note, as a Christian, I have a belief, that there's a greater power out there, and this gives me safety and security. It gives me peace when I sleep at night, knowing that, hey, you know, my Creator's watching out for me. I'm gonna be okay. Now, again, that doesn't mean that we should abdicate our responsibility to other humans and to society as a whole. So anyway, I'm just gonna throw that out there. Regardless, I wanna also share some points about big time safety regulators and people within organizations that keep leaving. And I'm not going to get into all the inner office politics that happen. You know, people say, oh, it's that, you know, I'm going to blame, you know, Sam Altman for leaving the organization because he doesn't care about safety. But regardless, I think it's important to look at the people whose roles within these organizations were to help develop AI safely, but end up leaving. So one of which is Zoe Hitzeg, who resigned from OpenAI just this past month after 2 years as a researcher, and she expressed deep reservations about the company's decision to introduce advertising to ChatGPT, which she argued would exploit users' personal data and manipulate interactions, which is obvious in advertising. The goal of advertising is to manipulate your viewers to taking action. That's the reality. You know, that's just the way it is. Rosie Campbell left OpenAI last year as part of a wave of safety team departures, warning of unsettling internal changes and a shift toward commercialization over caution. Steve Adler departed OpenAI last year as a safety researcher, stating he was, quote, pretty terrified by the pace of AI development. That was a year ago. Do you think it's slowed down now? It just seems like it's moving so fast. I feel like any day that I'm not developing or testing out a new thing or risking my own privacy and exposing passwords and stuff, it feels like every day that I don't do that, I'm falling behind. It's kind of a wild time. No? I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it just feels like if we don't move quickly and keep up, we're gonna be in trouble. And we'll get a little bit more on how I kind of see myself developing out my own skills in a moment here. But I do think it's worth highlighting that OpenAI is not the only company with these sorts of safety issues. I wanna look at Anthropic for a moment because I've been kind of perplexed by the CEO Dario Amodei's warnings about how dangerous AI is. You are developing one of the largest AI LLM models, and you keep complaining about how dangerous it is, which is kind of crazy to me. And we've talked about that before in previous videos. But regardless, he says, quote, it's gonna, AI may cause, quote, an unusually painful job disruption, which is one of the reasons, probably the main reason that I host this channel, because I am very concerned about mass disruption of jobs. But he also highlights that there could be unpredictable, autonomous AI that we can't predict. There could be, could create bioweapons, mass surveillance, and global totalitarian dictatorships. That does not sound good to me. A one world dictator that's everything is manned by AI. I don't know if you saw this commercial in the Super Bowl, but during the Super Bowl, there was a commercial run by Ring cameras that said, hey, we're just gonna connect all our Ring cameras together, so if you lose your dog, we can find your dog. Yeah, but you can surveil everything that's happening everywhere all the time. What could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong, guys? What could possibly go wrong? Regardless, it's clear there's issues over at Anthropic. And this was also highlighted this past week when the leader of their safeguards research team stepped down. This was Mrinak Sharma. And Mrinak released a statement on X that I want to read to you here real quickly, because I think it's interesting to see what's going on behind the scenes at these companies. He says, quote, I feel lucky to have been able to contribute to what I have here. Understanding AI sycophancy and its causes, developing defenses to reduce risks from AI-assisted bioterrorism, actually putting those defenses into production, and writing one of the first AI safety cases. I'm especially proud of my recent efforts to help us live our values via internal transparency mechanism, and also my final project on understanding how AI assistance could make us less human or distort humanity. And I think this is an important quote. He's just kind of saying, hey, this is what I've been working on. This is what I've been doing. However, it's time for me to step down. He continues, nevertheless, it is clear to me that the time has come to move on. I continuously find myself reckoning with our situation. The world is in peril. And not just from AI or bioweapons, but from a whole series of interconnected crises unfolding in this very moment. Quick side note as I break here, I don't know if you're familiar with the term, the fourth turning, but essentially what happens to the fourth turning is every 4 generations, there is a massing shift. There's a massive unrest or upending of the global structure. And if you look at the United States, it just goes back every 80 years. But if you look at the United States, 80 years ago, we had World War II. Before that, we had the Civil War. Before that, we had the Revolutionary War. It keeps going back and back and back. And guys, we are right at that point of that 80 years. So this idea from Mr. Shanka here, that we are in the middle of an interconnected crisis, follows the pattern of history. And history does not repeat, but it rhymes. Anyway, to continue, he says, we appear to be approaching a threshold where our wisdom must grow in equal measure to our capacity to affect the world, lest we face the consequences. Moreover, throughout my time here, I've repeatedly seen how hard it is to truly let our values govern our actions. Let me repeat that for everyone in the back. I think this is important. Throughout my time here, I've repeatedly seen how hard it is to truly let our values govern our actions. That is an important statement. It is hard to let our values govern our actions. Quote, I've seen this within myself, within the organization, where we constantly face pressures to set aside what matters most. And I think this entire statement really summarizes one of the issues that we've got with the way that tech is going. And by the way, I'm not anti-tech. I'm not here to say the sky is falling, everything is doomed, everything is terrible. That is not the point, okay? The point is that, guys, AI is happening. There is way too much money at stake. The idea that Bernie has is says, hey, let's shut it all down. No data centers at all. That is not going to happen. The technology is too profound. It can do too many things. There's a lot of new problems that arise though. And this is where we come in as men that want to remain relevant, respected, and financially free. It's that we can find solutions to the problems that are going to come, that are happening, problems that have never been seen before in human history that we're seeing right now. We can step up and solve them. And that is how we remain relevant, respected, and financially free. But at the same time, I want to highlight that term he says that, about wisdom. This is what makes us human. An AI has no wisdom. It has artificial intelligence. It can connect and predict numbers and letters in a sequence, and it can make some really interesting AI art, for sure, okay? But it does not have wisdom. It does not have wisdom. That's where guys like us step in with wisdom. How do we adapt? We have to continually increase our knowledge. We have to grow ownership in assets. By the way, your car is not an asset, your car is a liability. We want assets that appreciate in value. We want to build more relationships. We want to own stock, land, property. It might seem out of reach at some time, but the reality is that I was listening to this on a podcast the other day. There is such a demand for AI jobs right now. It is just absurd. And we need responsible guys that are building and thinking about what they're building, not just building, cash. Everyone dies at one day. But anyway, I'm getting a little morose. The reality is that the world's changing very quickly. I wanted to highlight these two stories about the change in the mission statement, which I think is interesting, and the post from the ethics character here over at Anthropic. Interesting things happening. Anyway, write in your comments below what you think. I don't want to take up a lot of your time. In the meantime, make it a great day. I'll see you later. Peace.